In the previous panel, we had looked at the linkage between the two mitzvot, Mitzvat Talmud Torah and Mitzvat Kriyat Shema, a linkage that was based upon the fact that both mitzvot are sourced from a single pasuk, Devarim 6:7. That linkage expresses itself in the fact that while Talmud Torah, in theory at least, demands that one involves oneself with Torah study both by day and night, there is an allowance for the realities in life where this is not possible, where we have a situation where one can technically fulfill the mitzvah of Talmud Torah as part of the tefillah, as one fulfills the mitzvah of reciting the Kriyat Shema. Having noted a connection between Talmud Torah and Kriyat Shema, we will now look at the relationship between these two mitzvot, where in effect one is the polar opposite of the other. The mitzvah of Kriyat Shema, from the standpoint of the halacha, is one, a daytime mitzvah, uvukumecha, another, a nighttime mitzvah, v'shachbacha. Two, independent mitzvot. This is reflected in the fact that, as with all mitzvot, there needs to be the recitation of a bracha prior to the fulfillment of that mitzvah. The purpose of this bracha is to focus and link the mitzvah as an expression of God's will with respect to the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema. Both the morning and the evening mitzvot each have an independent bracha that precedes the actual recitation of the Shema. For the Kriyat Shema of Tfilat Shacharit, there is a lengthy bracha concluding with the words Baruch Atah Hashem habocher be'amo Yisrael b'yahava, the topic of which focuses upon the selection of Am Yisrael as God's chosen nation. For the Kriyat Shema Shel Ma'ariv, the content of the bracha is primarily one in which we note the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has demonstrated throughout history for his nation. Baruch Atah Hashem ohev amo Yisrael. In one of the footnotes of the next panel, it shall be noted that neither of the brachot, content-wise, relates to the words of the Shema Yisrael. In contrast, while there's also a day-night component to the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, in actuality, the obligation of studying Torah bayom v'alayla is a single mitzvah spread throughout the 24 hours of the day, depending on one's desire and one's availability to allocate time for the fulfillment of this mitzvah. And hence, there is a single bracha incorporated into the tefillah regarding mitzvat Talmud Torah. As part of the Birchat HaShachar, the paragraph V'ha'arev na Hashem Elokeinu underlines a request that V'nihiyeh anachnu v'tzetzainu kulanu yodei shemecha, we and our offspring should hopefully retain a knowledge, an awareness, a commitment, a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we and they should be lomdei toratacha lishma, have the desire to study Torah not just for the knowledge but also in fulfillment of the mitzvah of limud Torah, ending with the words Baruch Atah Hashem hamlamed Torah la'am Yisrael, God who teaches, who provides the facility of Torah knowledge to his nation Yisrael. Preceding the V'ha'arei is the bracha asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah, and following the V'ha'arei is the bracha recited over the Kriyat HaTorah asher bachabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch Atah Hashem noten HaTorah. So that the bracha should not be deemed as a bracha levatala, the authorities that be have inserted into the tefillah two selections of Torah, one from Torah Shebiktav, the other from Torah Sheba'al Peh. The selection of Torah Shebiktav is the Birchat Kohanim, drawn from Sefer Bamidbar, while the selection from Torah Sheba'al Peh is drawn from a Mishnah, Masechet Peyah. This is the second Masechet of the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Perek Aleph, Mishnah Aleph, the Mishnah ending with the words V'Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. In this way, should circumstances have it that the person is not able to open a sefer throughout the entire day, one at the very least has fulfilled mitzvat Talmud Torah with the recitation of these two selections. And hence, while the two mitzvot are drawn from the very same pasuk, both involving a day and a nighttime component, nevertheless they are each polar opposites of each other. Mitzvat Talmud Torah is a single mitzvah, the bracha of which extends to each time that the individual becomes involved in the mitzvah of limud Torah, whereas the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema also has a day-night component. These two components, however, are two independent mitzvot. In the next panel, I shall digress temporarily and note the information contained in 5 footnotes that amplify the information presented in this panel regarding the differences between Mitzvat Talmud Torah and Mitzvat Kriyat Shema.